Good day. For today's video, we will be discussing KKK and the Kartilya ng Katipunan. Student outcomes determine how these primary sources affected the history of the Filipino people. I'd like you to watch this video.
Naririnig natin ang mga storya tungkol sa kanya. Nababasa at napag-aaralan. Pero hindi natin alam ang mga totoong pangyayari. Kaya hayaan niyo po ako na ikwento sa inyo ang tunay na buhay ni Andres Bonifacio.
Okay, so are you familiar with Andres Bonifacio? Now, what can you say about Andres Bonifacio? These are some of the facts about Bonifacio. He was born on November 30, 1863. He was orphaned at an early age. He married Gregor de Jesus on 1894. He founded the Kataas-Taasan Kagalang-galangan Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan on July 7, 1892. Alright, so I would be asking you to do this activity. The class will be divided into two groups. Each group will be given readings on Emilio Jacinto's Kartilya ng Katipunan and Andres Bonifacio's Decalogue ng Katipunan. Each group will carefully analyze the accounts on the write-up and will make their own summary so as to relay their understanding about the text. The teacher will give them the time to share their thoughts in the class. So let's try to analyze your work by answering the following guide questions. What was the main reason why the KKK was organized? So the answer for that is Andres Bonifacio wanted to free the Philippines from the Spaniards through a revolution. Are there any similarities or differences between the Decalogue of Bonifacio and the Kartilya of Jacinto? Now, based on your observation in that particular activity, the Decalogue of Bonifacio is similar to a rule, a law, that a Katipunero should follow, while the Kartilya of Jacinto is more on values formation, values that is needed uh, in making the Filipinos aware of their being Filipinos. Why was the Kartilya of Emilio Jacinto adopted as the main teaching of the Katipunan instead of the Decalogue of Bonifacio? Let me answer that. The Decalogue of Bonifacio was set aside, but instead the Kartilya was given the opportunity to be the official teaching of the Katipunan simply because Bonifacio believed that uh, the Kartilya of Jacinto is much uh, presentable, much much reasonable, and he believes that the Filipinos and the Katipuneros would appreciate it very much. Because the problem of Bonifacio during those times are two things. Number one, there are many Filipinos who believe that they are Spaniards because the Philippines was under the management of the Spanish government for so long that most of them, especially those who are serving in the government, think of themselves as Spaniards. So that's the problem of Bonifacio. The other one is there are those Filipinos who are not aware of their nationality or them being a Filipino. So the question for Bonifacio is how to unite this two group of ideologies among Filipinos. So he created his own Decalogue, believing that Filipinos would embrace his ideology about change, about revolution, about freedom. But instead, uh, he realized that the Kartilya of Emilio Jacinto will enlighten the Filipinos because it is much focused with values formation. Values formation that is needed among Filipinos. You see, in values formation, um, nationalism and patriotism will be developed in the sense that Filipinos would identify themselves as Filipino. They would appreciate their country. They will appreciate themselves as Filipinos, and they will appreciate to love themselves. That's the glory of values formation or values education. Let's say you're the manager of a company and then you implement a particular policy or law without explaining to your staff that this law will be implemented because of certain several reasons. Now, what would be the reaction of the employees or your staff? So, certainly, in compliance with obedience, they will obey you. Of course, there will also be remorse. There will also be bitterness among your staff because you, as the manager and as the owner, did not even try to explain the reason why you're implementing such law or policy in the company. Similar thing if Filipinos or the Katipuneros were not oriented about why they should follow and obey the Decalogue. They will just be following it out of obedience because it was not made realize for them by Bonifacio. But instead, The Kartilya is more on education, educating the Filipinos about loving themselves, loving their country, and loving their fellow men. That's the glory of the Kartilya of Jacinto. It's it's a total package for reforms for the Filipinos during those times. Next, how did the members of the Katipunan responded to the Kartilya of Emilio Jacinto? Well, if you would base it in history, there were many Filipinos who were convinced to join the Katipunan because the Kartilya was taught to them by the one who recruited them, making them realize to love themselves, to love their country, and to love their countrymen. Now, what can you say about the behavior of Andres Bonifacio when he set aside his Decalogue to give into Emilio Jacinto's Kartilya ng Katipunan? Essentially, that is leadership. Leadership that has humility. Sometimes being a leader, it doesn't mean that you know everything. The thing is, no person monopolizes an idea. So, as a leader, Bonifacio emphasized his humility and genuine leadership because he knows with the fact that is not that educated like Emilio Jacinto. In fact, Emilio Jacinto has taken a law course in one of the most popular universities in Manila during those times. While Bonifacio, he learned whatever he learns during those times was the result of his persistence to learn. Now, explain your views regarding the thought, he who humbles himself will be exalted, and he who exalts himself will be humbled. It means that we need to humble ourselves at all times. Humility is a virtue, yes. In humility, we learn. In humility, we achieve our goals. In humility, we gain friends. In humility, we are respected. For example, if you become boastful, many people will be happy if you have committed an error in your decision and it that particular mistake of yours was made known or exposed to everyone. Many people will laugh at you because of your behavior of being boastful. So see, so it's better to be humble than to be humble. Again, it's better to be humble than to be humble. So, the lesson here is, huwag kang mayabang kasi ang mayabang, pag nagkamali, maraming natutuwa. Questions? Class dismiss.